Hi guys, I'm Kristen. Okay, so this is part 3, learning how to feel. And I giggle because, yeah, I was not a feeler. Um, yeah, I was not a feeler. So, I mean, most of my life, honestly, if I felt overwhelmed at all, I would just keep moving, stay busy, focus on what everybody else needed, except for me, what I needed. I would just stay busy, right? And you take that, and I'm on this journey now, and I'm thinking, how do I heal myself? And for the longest time, I thought that meant, you know, thinking something differently or changing something about me, um, changing, the space I was in, fixing myself, right? But looking back, my healing was my feeling. So feeling below the surface emotions was my healing. That's where I found my healing. It was those surface emotions that kept me functioning, right? So it was real easy to hold resentment or anger or frustration, keep busy, try to control overthinking, irritation. It was easy to feel all those. Um, and that was very protective, right? Those were all my protections because it was what was beneath those that I had to feel, that I had to feel into and get to. And, once I, started to learn more about myself, it became easier to do this. But in all honesty, I mean, there were so many experiences and relationships and situations that I just kind of had to go back to almost and put myself back in that situation. Hi, Goose. And, turn towards the emotions below the protective ones and not run away from it and avoid it anymore. And there's so many examples I could give. I can chuckle now, but, just let's take an easy one. For example, a easier one. I had a friend, this is probably, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, who wanted to sell their home in a few years. So she called me in, we did a walkthrough. I spent quite a bit of time with her over a few years, paint colors, recommending contractors, staging, where she should spend money, where she shouldn't spend money. I love my friend. Of course I was going to help her. And then you know what? She didn't use me to sell the house. So, wow, right? So what the world saw, what our friends saw, what my family saw, right, was what I showed the outside, which was, I showed them I was stressed out. I was busy. I couldn't attend events. I was, you know, working. I was, keep it to myself. I was, ignoring all that, right? So that's what I was showing everybody. And then what I could admit to myself was, oh yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry. Mm-hmm. I am pissed off, right? And if I stayed there, which I did at the time, then that kind of kept me stuck, right? Because I was protecting myself. Therefore, I was able to function and move forward. And all I ended up doing was playing into drama, creating drama over it, trying to get people to side with me, playing victim, because I lived there. What I couldn't do was feel into the true emotion that was beneath all that, right? And what was that? I was heartbroken, you guys. She broke my heart that day when she listed with another agent. I was sad. And I couldn't say that out loud, nor could I tell her, right? Because I was afraid to communicate too. But yeah, it was sad. I was heartbroken. And since then, right, I've replayed that. I allowed that emotion to come in. I allowed it to break my heart again. And I allowed myself to cry. And it was like it released. And it was like I understood myself just that much better after that. So the next time that I was angry, or the next time I was disappointed, or the next time I was showing the world by pouting or keeping busy or, ignoring, right? I then could go a little bit further and say what ultimately is behind that. What's the true feeling that was behind that? And when I could start to say, the heartbreak or the shame or the guilt out loud and see it, then I started to break some of my patterns and loops that were definitely keeping me stuck, right? And it was that stuck energy and exhaustion that just kept making me so tired with life all the time. Because I wasn't honoring myself. And I wasn't turning towards feeling and allowing myself to really get honest with myself and turn into it and not avoid it. Yeah, you guys can do this too. Don't be afraid of it. Because once you do a couple of these and kind of go a little deeper, it becomes easier to recognize those patterns, becomes easier to feel, becomes easier to release the fear of being vulnerable and crying. And I certainly feel better, and I may look tired, but I'm certainly not as tired. So yeah, you choose you. Turn towards feeling, because feeling is healing. Love and light.